Title: Mastering Hypnotic Language, Exploring the Art of Influence in Negotiation. Chapter 1, The Power of Language in Negotiation. A sense introducing the concept of hypnotic language and its impact on negotiation outcomes. A sense discussing the role of language in influencing human behavior and decision-making. A sense exploring the connection between language, rapport, and trust in negotiation. Chapter 2, Understanding Language Patterns. A sense examining the different language patterns and techniques used in hypnotic negotiation. A sense exploring embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns. A sense providing examples and case studies to illustrate the use of language patterns in negotiation contexts. Chapter 3, Direct and Indirect Suggestions. A sense diving into the different types of suggestions used in hypnotic negotiation. A sense discussing the power of direct suggestions and how to use them effectively. A sense exploring the subtlety of indirect suggestions and their impact on influencing counterparts' behavior. Chapter 4, Creating Anchors for Influence. A sense discussing the concept of anchoring and its role in hypnotic negotiation. A sense providing practical guidance on creating and utilizing anchors to influence counterparts' emotions and responses. A sense exploring the ethical considerations of using anchors in negotiation. Chapter 5, Overcoming Resistance and Objections. A sense addressing the challenges of resistance and objections in negotiation. A sense discussing how hypnotic language can be used to handle and overcome resistance. A sense providing strategies and tactics for diffusing objections and turning resistance into cooperation. Chapter 6, Advanced Hypnotic Techniques. A sense exploring advanced techniques in hypnotic negotiation, including pattern interrupts, time distortion, and embedded metaphors. A sense discussing how these techniques can be applied in specific negotiation scenarios for optimal results. A sense providing practical tips and exercises for mastering advanced hypnotic language techniques. Chapter 7, Ethics in Hypnotic Negotiation. A sense discussing the ethical considerations of using hypnotic language in negotiation. A sense addressing potential concerns and risks associated with the use of hypnotic language. A sense providing guidelines for ethical and responsible use of hypnotic language in negotiation contexts. Chapter 8, Applying Hypnotic Language in Real-World Negotiations. A sense examining real-world case studies and examples of hypnotic language in action. A sense discussing how hypnotic language can be applied in various negotiation settings, including business, legal, and personal negotiations. A sense providing practical tips for incorporating hypnotic language into negotiation strategies. Chapter 9, Mastery of Hypnotic Language. A sense discussing the mindset and attitude required for mastering hypnotic language in negotiation. A sense providing practical exercises and techniques for continuous improvement. A sense exploring the ongoing development and refinement of hypnotic language skills for long-term success. Conclusion. A sense summarizing the key concepts and techniques explored in the book. A sense encouraging readers to continue their journey in mastering hypnotic language. A sense highlighting the importance of ethical and responsible use of hypnotic language in negotiation. Mastering Hypnotic Language is a comprehensive guide for anyone interested in exploring the power of language in negotiation. Whether you're a business professional, lawyer, mediator, or simply interested in improving your communication skills, this book provides practical guidance and exercises for mastering the art of influence through hypnotic language in negotiation contexts. From understanding language patterns to overcoming resistance, and from creating anchors for influence to applying advanced techniques, this book will equip you with the knowledge and tools to become a master negotiator using hypnotic language. Introduction. Language is a powerful tool that shapes our world in countless ways. From everyday conversations to high-stakes negotiations, the words we use have the ability to influence others and shape outcomes. In negotiation, the use of language is particularly critical, as it can be the key to building rapport, establishing trust, and ultimately achieving favorable results. Welcome to Chapter 1 of Mastering Hypnotic Language, Exploring the Art of Influence in Negotiation. In this chapter, we will delve into the power of language in negotiation and how it can be harnessed for optimal results. We will explore the role of language in influencing human behavior, decision-making, and building strong relationships with counterparts. We will also uncover the connection between language, rapport, and trust in negotiation, and how mastering hypnotic language can elevate your negotiation skills to new heights. Whether you are a seasoned negotiator looking to refine your communication skills or a novice seeking to gain insights into the art of influence, this chapter will provide you with a solid foundation to understand the power of language in negotiation. So, buckle up and get ready to unlock the secrets of hypnotic language and its impact on negotiation outcomes. Let's dive into the fascinating world of language in negotiation and discover how it can be your most potent weapon at the negotiation table. Introducing the concept of hypnotic language and its impact on negotiation outcomes. Language is a fundamental aspect of human communication, and it plays a critical role in negotiation. The words we choose, the tone we use, and the way we structure our sentences can have a profound impact on how our messages are received and interpreted by others. Hypnotic language, in particular, is a powerful tool that can be employed in negotiation settings to influence counterparts' behavior, decision-making processes, and ultimately, the outcomes of the negotiation. Hypnotic language is a set of linguistic patterns and techniques that are designed to bypass the conscious mind and access the subconscious mind, where our beliefs, emotions, and motivations reside. It draws from the field of hypnosis, which is the practice of inducing a trance-like state to access the subconscious mind and create desired changes in behavior or perception. In negotiation, the use of hypnotic language can be a game changer, as it allows negotiators to tap into the underlying drivers of human behavior and shape the negotiation process in their favor. The impact of hypnotic language on negotiation outcomes cannot be overstated. By using specific language patterns and techniques, negotiators can create psychological effects and influence counterparts' decision-making processes. They can build rapport and trust, diffuse objections, overcome resistance, and ultimately guide the negotiation towards a favorable outcome. Hypnotic language allows negotiators to craft their messages in a way that resonates with counterparts at a subconscious level, leading to a deeper level of persuasion and influence. One of the key aspects of hypnotic language is its ability to bypass resistance and objections. In negotiation, counterparts may have differing interests, priorities, and perspectives, which can lead to conflicts and impasses. However, using hypnotic language techniques such as embedded commands, metaphors, and pacing and leading, negotiators can overcome resistance and objections by subtly guiding counterparts towards a more cooperative mindset. Hypnotic language can also be used to create anchors, which are associations between specific words or phrases and emotional states. By strategically creating anchors, negotiators can influence counterparts' emotional responses and shape their decision-making processes. Furthermore, mastering hypnotic language can enhance rapport and trust-building efforts in negotiation. Building rapport is essential in negotiation as it creates a sense of connection and understanding between negotiators and counterparts. Hypnotic language techniques such as mirroring, matching, and pacing can be used to establish and maintain rapport by subtly mimicking counterparts' language patterns, tone, and body language. This helps in creating a sense of familiarity and trust, which can pave the way for smoother negotiation interactions. In conclusion, hypnotic language is a powerful tool that can have a significant impact on negotiation outcomes. It allows negotiators to bypass the conscious mind and access the subconscious mind, where emotions, beliefs, and motivations reside. By using specific language patterns and techniques, negotiators can create psychological effects, influence counterparts' decision-making processes, and ultimately shape the negotiation in their favor. In the following chapters, we will explore different hypnotic language techniques in detail, providing practical tips and exercises for improving language skills in negotiation contexts. So, get ready to dive into the fascinating world of hypnotic language and unlock the art of influence in negotiation. Title: The Art of Persuasion. It was the roaring 1920s, and the underground world of organized crime was thriving. In the heart of the city, there was a notorious mobster named Tony the Snake Santerer, known for his cunning ways and persuasive skills. Tony had mastered the art of hypnotic language, which he used to his advantage in his negotiations with rival gangs, law enforcement, and business partners. One day, Tony received an invitation to a meeting with a rival mob boss, Salvatore the Butcher Rosso. The tension between the two crime bosses had been escalating, and a negotiation was necessary to avoid an all-out war. Tony knew that he would need to rely on his hypnotic language skills to come out on top. As he arrived at the speakeasy where the meeting was scheduled, Tony was greeted by Salvatore and his entourage. The Butcher was known for his intimidating presence, but Tony remained calm and composed, ready to put his negotiation skills to work. The negotiation began, with both Tony and Salvatore making their cases and exchanging offers. Tony used various hypnotic language techniques, such as embedded commands, metaphors, and pacing and leading, to subtly influence Salvatore's decision-making processes. He carefully chose his words, using persuasive language patterns that resonated with Salvatore's subconscious mind. Tony also employed rapport-building techniques, mirroring Salvatore's body language, tone, and language patterns, to establish a sense of connection and trust. He listened attentively to Salvatore's concerns and objections, and used his hypnotic language skills to diffuse them and turn them into opportunities for cooperation. As the negotiation progressed, Tony created anchors by associating certain words and phrases with positive emotions. He strategically used these anchors to trigger favorable emotional responses in Salvatore, further influencing his decision-making. After hours of negotiation, Tony could see the shift in Salvatore's demeanor. His resistance had softened, and he was more open to Tony's proposals. Using a pattern interrupt, Tony seized the moment and made a final persuasive pitch, using a compelling metaphor that resonated with Salvatore's values and motivations. In the end, Salvatore agreed to Tony's terms, and they reached a mutually beneficial agreement. As they shook hands and parted ways, Salvatore couldn't help but admire Tony's negotiation skills. He realized that Tony's mastery of hypnotic language had played a significant role in influencing his decision. Tony walked away victorious, knowing that his hypnotic language skills had secured a favorable outcome. He had once again demonstrated the power of language in negotiation and solidified his reputation as a master persuader in the underworld. From that day on, Tony's legend grew, and he continued to use his hypnotic language skills to navigate the treacherous world of organized crime, always staying one step ahead of his rivals. His ability to influence and persuade using the art of hypnotic language became a legendary tale, inspiring others to explore the power of language in negotiation. In conclusion, the story of Tony the Snake Santa exemplifies the impact of hypnotic language on negotiation outcomes. Through his mastery of hypnotic language techniques, Tony was able to sway his counterpart, Salvatore the Butcher Rosso, and secure a favorable agreement. The story highlights the importance of understanding and utilizing the power of language in negotiation, as it can be a game changer in achieving desired outcomes. Whether in the world of organized crime or any other negotiation setting, the art of persuasion through hypnotic language can be a valuable skill for negotiators looking to gain the upper hand. Discussing the role of language in influencing human behavior and decision-making. Language is a powerful tool that humans use to communicate, express ideas, and convey emotions. It plays a crucial role in influencing human behavior and decision-making in various aspects of life, including negotiations. In the context of negotiation, the way language is used can have a profound impact on the outcomes and dynamics of the negotiation process. Language, both verbal and nonverbal, shapes human behavior by affecting how people perceive and interpret information. The words we choose, the tone of our voice, our body language, and even our facial expressions can all influence how others respond to us in a negotiation setting. The right words, delivered in the right way, can evoke specific emotions, trigger certain thought processes, and shape the perception of reality for the other party. Furthermore, language is closely tied to human decision-making. The way information is framed, the language used to present options, and the persuasive techniques employed can all impact how people make choices. Humans are not always rational decision-makers. Emotions, biases, and heuristics often influence our decision-making processes. Language can be used to tap into these emotional and cognitive factors, influencing decision-making in subtle but powerful ways. The role of language in negotiation goes beyond mere communication. It extends to building rapport, establishing trust, managing conflict, and resolving disputes. Language can be used to create connections, establish common ground, and bridge gaps in understanding. It can also be used to navigate difficult situations, diffuse objections, and turn resistance into cooperation. The right language can foster a positive negotiation environment and create a sense of collaboration and partnership, leading to mutually beneficial outcomes. Moreover, language is not just about the words spoken, but also about active listening and understanding the other party's perspective. Effective communication involves not only expressing oneself clearly but also actively listening to the words, tone, and nonverbal cues of the other party. By understanding the nuances of language and being attentive to the other party's communication, negotiators can build rapport, gather important information, and tailor their language accordingly to influence the other party's behavior and decisions. In conclusion, language plays a fundamental role in influencing human behavior and decision-making in the context of negotiation. It goes beyond simple communication and encompasses the use of persuasive language patterns, framing techniques, nonverbal cues, and active listening. Mastering the art of language in negotiation can give negotiators a significant advantage in shaping outcomes, building rapport, and achieving desired results. Understanding the power of language and utilizing it effectively can greatly enhance negotiation skills and lead to successful negotiation outcomes. Title: The Art of Persuasion. It was the roaring 1920s, a time of prohibition and mobsters, where negotiations often took place in smoky backrooms and dimly lit speakeasies. In the heart of the city, there were two rival gangs vying for control of the lucrative bootlegging business. The Donnelly gang, led by Jimmy the Snake Donnelly, and the O'Sullivan gang led by Liam the Hammer O'Sullivan. They were both known for their cunning negotiation skills, but they had different approaches to language and persuasion. Jimmy was a charismatic and smooth talker, known for his silver tongue and the ability to win people over with his words. He believed that language was a powerful tool that could be used to influence human behavior and decision-making. He would carefully choose his words, using persuasive language patterns and framing techniques to make his points, while also actively listening to the other party's communication to gather important information. On the other hand, Liam was a tough and straightforward negotiator, known for his no-nonsense approach and aggressive style. He believed in using force and intimidation to get what he wanted, and he often used harsh language and threats to bend others to his will. The negotiations between the Donnelly and O'Sullivan gangs were fierce and intense. They would meet in secret, surrounded by their loyal gang members, each trying to outwit and outmaneuver the other. One day, Jimmy received a tip about a new speakeasy that had opened up in the outskirts of the city. He decided to pay it a visit, hoping to gather information and gain an advantage in the ongoing negotiations. As he entered the speakeasy, he was greeted by the beautiful and alluring Sophia, the owner of the establishment. Sophia was known to be a master of persuasion, with a talent for using language to captivate and influence others. She was an antagonist in this negotiation, as her interests were aligned with Liam's O'Sullivan gang. Spending time with her was always rewarding, as she had a magnetic personality that drew people towards her. Jimmy found himself intrigued by Sophia's charm and wit. She used subtle language patterns and embedded metaphors to make her points, leading Jimmy to question his own beliefs and motivations. She framed the negotiations in a different light, appealing to Jimmy's emotions and desires. Her persuasive language and hypnotic techniques slowly started to influence Jimmy's decision-making, clouding his judgment and leading him to consider options he hadn't before. As the negotiations continued, Jimmy found himself torn between his loyalty to his gang and the persuasive influence of Sophia's language. He started to question his own negotiating style, realizing that there was more to language than just force and aggression. He began to see the power of persuasion through language, and how it could be used to create connections, establish common ground, and bridge gaps in understanding. On the other hand, Liam grew increasingly frustrated with Jimmy's changing behavior. He couldn't understand why Jimmy was suddenly more receptive to the O'Sullivan gang's proposals, and he suspected that there was an outside influence at play. Liam confronted Jimmy and accused him of betraying their gang, but Jimmy defended himself, explaining that he was simply realizing the power of language in negotiations. The negotiations reached a crucial point, and the tension between the two gangs escalated. But Jimmy, now armed with a newfound understanding of the role of language in influencing human behavior, used his skills to diffuse objections and turn resistance into cooperation. He employed advanced hypnotic negotiation strategies, including pattern interrupts and time distortion, to sway the negotiations in his favor. In the end, Jimmy and Liam reached a compromise, thanks to Jimmy's mastery of hypnotic language. Exploring the connection between language, rapport, and trust in negotiation. Language is not just a tool for communication, it is a powerful tool that can build rapport, establish trust, and greatly impact the outcome of negotiations. In the world of negotiation, where conflicting interests, differing perspectives, and high stakes often come into play, the effective use of language can make all the difference. Rapport, which refers to a sense of connection, understanding, and harmony between parties, is a critical element in negotiation. When negotiators establish rapport with each other, it creates a foundation of trust, which in turn can lead to more successful negotiations. Language plays a crucial role in building rapport, as it allows negotiators to establish common ground, empathize with each other, and create a positive environment for productive communication. The use of language patterns, such as matching and mirroring, can be powerful techniques for building rapport in negotiations. This involves subtly matching the tone, pace, and style of the other party's communication, which helps create a sense of familiarity and similarity. For example, if one party speaks slowly and uses a calm tone, matching that style can create a sense of rapport and trust. Another important aspect of language in negotiation is the use of trust-building words and phrases. Using positive and affirming language can create a sense of trust and collaboration, while negative or confrontational language can create barriers and hinder effective communication. For example, using phrases like "I understand," "I appreciate," or "let's find a solution together" can convey a cooperative mindset and foster trust. In addition to rapport, trust is a crucial factor in negotiation. Trust is the foundation upon which negotiations are built, and language plays a significant role in establishing and maintaining trust. Trust can be established through consistent and transparent communication, where parties are honest, open, and reliable in their language and actions. On the other hand, The use of manipulative or deceitful language can quickly erode trust and derail negotiations. Language can also influence the perception of trustworthiness. For example, using confident and assertive language can convey competence and reliability, while hesitant or vague language can create doubt and mistrust. The choice of words and tone can greatly impact the level of trust that is established between negotiators. Furthermore, language can impact the level of understanding between parties. Effective communication is essential in negotiations, and the use of clear and precise language can help parties understand each other's perspectives, interests, and needs. The use of language patterns, such as summarizing, clarifying, and asking open-ended questions, can enhance understanding and facilitate a more productive negotiation process. In conclusion, language is a powerful tool in negotiation, influencing rapport, trust, and understanding between parties. Skillful use of language patterns, tone, and choice of words can greatly impact the outcome of negotiations. Building rapport, establishing trust, and fostering clear communication through language are critical elements for successful negotiations. As negotiators strive for mutually beneficial outcomes, the role of language cannot be underestimated in shaping the dynamics and results of the negotiation process. Title: The Negotiation Game. It was the 1920s, and the city was ruled by mobsters. Protagonist Joe the Ace was a smooth-talking, charismatic negotiator who had established himself as one of the best in the business. He was known for his ability to build rapport, establish trust, and use language to his advantage in any negotiation. One day, Joe received a call from the notorious mobster, Vincent the Viper Vincetti. The Viper was known for his ruthless nature and cunning negotiation tactics. He had a reputation for always getting what he wanted, and he was feared by many. Joe knew that negotiating with the Viper would be a challenge, as he wanted the opposite of what Joe wanted. The Viper was planning to expand his territory and gain control of a lucrative speakeasy that Joe's client, Tony the Gentleman Giovanni, owned. Tony was a respected businessman who wanted to keep his speakeasy under his control and avoid any violence. As Joe entered the Viper's lavish office for the negotiation, he was greeted by the menacing figure of the Viper. Despite his intimidating presence, Joe remained calm and focused on building rapport. He used his smooth language patterns and confident tone to establish a connection with the Viper. The Viper, on the other hand, was impressed by Joe's negotiation skills. He found Joe's company enjoyable and engaging, which was a rare experience for him. Spending time with Joe was rewarding, as he appreciated Joe's wit and charm. As the negotiation progressed, Joe used his language skills to create a positive environment for communication. He employed active listening, summarized the Viper's concerns, and asked open-ended questions to gain a deeper understanding of his perspective. Joe also used trust-building language, acknowledging the Viper's concerns and expressing empathy towards his goals. Despite their opposing interests, Joe and the Viper found common ground through their shared desire for a peaceful resolution. Joe used embedded metaphors and time distortion techniques to subtly influence the Viper's decision-making process. He painted a vivid picture of the potential benefits of a peaceful negotiation, using language to create a compelling vision of a mutually beneficial outcome. Through their skilled use of language, rapport was established between Joe and the Viper. The Viper was impressed by Joe's negotiation skills and appreciated the respect and understanding he showed during the process. He recognized Joe as a worthy opponent and respected his approach. In the end, Joe and the Viper reached a successful agreement. The Viper agreed to abandon his plans for the speakeasy in exchange for a fair compensation package. Tony's speakeasy remained under his control, and Joe's client, Tony, was pleased with the outcome. As Joe left the Viper's office, he reflected on the power of language in negotiation. He realized that building rapport, establishing trust, and using language strategically were key factors in his success. He knew that mastering the connection between language, rapport, and trust was essential in the high-stakes world of mobster negotiations. The story spread among the mobster community, and Joe's reputation as a skilled negotiator grew even stronger. He continued to use his mastery of language in negotiations, navigating the complex world of mobsters and achieving favorable outcomes for his clients. The Viper, though defeated in this negotiation, admired Joe's skills and secretly hoped for another chance to test his negotiation prowess in the future. In the end, Joe's ability to understand and utilize the power of language in negotiation was his greatest asset, and he continued to thrive in the cutthroat world of 1920s mobsters, using his hypnotic language skills to achieve success in his negotiations. Chapter 2: Understanding Language Patterns. Language is a powerful tool that can greatly impact communication and influence outcomes in various situations. In negotiation, The ability to understand and utilize language patterns effectively can make the difference between a successful outcome and a missed opportunity. In this chapter, we will delve deeper into the fascinating world of language patterns and their significance in negotiation. Language patterns refer to the specific ways in which words, phrases, and sentences are structured and used to convey meaning. They can be consciously or unconsciously used to influence human behavior, shape perceptions, and create rapport. Understanding language patterns can provide negotiators with valuable insights into how to communicate more effectively, build trust, and influence decision-making. In this chapter, we will explore the different types of language patterns commonly used in negotiation, ranging from simple patterns such as presuppositions, embedded commands, and analogical language, to more complex patterns like reframing, pacing, and leading. We will examine how these language patterns work, why they are effective, and when and how to use them strategically in negotiation scenarios. Additionally, we will discuss the ethical considerations surrounding the use of language patterns in negotiation. While language patterns can be powerful tools, they must be used responsibly and ethically to ensure that all parties are treated fairly and with respect. As we delve into the world of language patterns, we will also provide practical examples and case studies to illustrate how these patterns can be applied in negotiation settings. By understanding language patterns and their impact on communication, negotiators can enhance their communication skills, build rapport, and increase their chances of achieving successful outcomes in negotiations. So, join us in this chapter as we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of language patterns and their role in negotiation. Get ready to sharpen your negotiation skills and gain a deeper understanding of how language can be used as a powerful tool in the negotiation process. Examining the different language patterns and techniques used in hypnotic negotiation. Examining the different language patterns and techniques used in hypnotic negotiation. Language is a fundamental element of communication, and it plays a crucial role in negotiation. In hypnotic negotiation, language patterns and techniques are used strategically to influence counterparts' behavior, shape perceptions, and achieve desired outcomes. These language patterns and techniques are carefully crafted and employed to create a hypnotic effect that can sway counterparts' decision-making and responses. Let's take a closer look at some of the different language patterns and techniques commonly used in hypnotic negotiation. 1. Presuppositions. Presuppositions are statements that assume the truth of certain propositions without explicitly stating them. They can be used to plant suggestions or ideas in the minds of counterparts without raising resistance. For example, when you decide to agree to our terms presupposes that the counterpart will agree, assuming it as a given. 2. Embedded commands. Embedded commands are hidden suggestions embedded within a sentence. They are often delivered with a specific tonality or emphasis to create a hypnotic effect. For example, you may find it beneficial to consider our proposal with the word beneficial emphasized as a command. 3. Analogical language. Analogical language involves using metaphors, stories, or analogies to communicate ideas indirectly. This can allow negotiators to convey suggestions or influence counterparts' perceptions without being too direct. For example, our proposal is like a bridge that can connect us to mutual success. 4. Reframing. Reframing involves changing the context or perspective of a situation or statement to influence how it is perceived. This can be used to shift counterparts' perceptions or interpretations of a situation to align with the negotiator's objectives. For example, instead of viewing this as a problem, let's see it as an opportunity for a win-win solution. 5. Pacing and leading. Pacing involves mirroring or matching counterparts' language, tonality, and body language to build rapport and establish a connection. Leading, on the other hand, involves subtly guiding counterparts to adopt a certain perspective or behavior. For example, I understand your concerns, pace, and I believe we can find a solution that meets both our needs. Lead. These are just a few examples of the language patterns and techniques used in hypnotic negotiation. It's important to note that these techniques should be used responsibly and ethically, with a clear understanding of the potential impact they can have on counterparts. It's crucial to ensure that all parties are treated fairly and with respect throughout the negotiation process. In conclusion, language is a powerful tool in negotiation, and understanding the different language patterns and techniques used in hypnotic negotiation can provide negotiators with an additional tool set to effectively influence counterparts' behavior and achieve favorable outcomes. By mastering these language patterns and techniques, negotiators can enhance their negotiation skills and increase their chances of success in a variety of negotiation scenarios. Title: The Smooth Talker's Gambit. It was the roaring 1920s, and the city was bustling with speakeasies, jazz music, and mobsters vying for control. At the heart of it all was Vincent the Smooth Talker Marino, a charismatic and cunning negotiator known for his mastery of language patterns and techniques in hypnotic negotiation. Vincent was a suave and sophisticated mobster who could talk his way out of any situation. He had a silver tongue and a gift for using language to influence human behavior and decision-making. Vincent's smooth talking and hypnotic negotiation skills made him a force to be reckoned with in the underworld. One day, Vincent found himself in a high-stakes negotiation with his arch-rival, Tony the Bulldozer Rossi, over control of a lucrative speakeasy located in the heart of the city. Tony was known for his aggressive tactics and brute force, while Vincent relied on his charm and hypnotic language patterns to achieve his goals. As the negotiation began, Vincent carefully examined the different language patterns and techniques he could use to gain the upper hand. He started with presuppositions, subtly planting suggestions in Tony's mind without raising resistance. He said, "Tony, when we come to an agreement on the terms, you'll be pleased with the outcome." Vincent also employed embedded commands, hiding suggestions within his sentences. He emphasized certain words to create a hypnotic effect, saying, "You can see the benefits of partnering with me, Tony." Vincent used analogical language to communicate indirectly, telling stories and using metaphors to sway Tony's perceptions. He said, "Tony, our partnership is like a well-oiled machine, where we both reap the rewards of our joint efforts." He also employed reframing, changing the context of Tony's aggressive stance to align with his own objectives. He said, "Tony, instead of resorting to violence, let's find a peaceful solution that benefits both of us." Vincent's pacing and leading skills were also on display as he mirrored Tony's language and tonality to build rapport, and then subtly guided him towards his desired outcome. He said, "I understand your concerns, Tony. Pace. Let's work together to find a win-win solution." Lead. Throughout the negotiation, Vincent used his language patterns and techniques to influence Tony's behavior and decision-making. He remained calm, confident, and in control, employing his hypnotic negotiation skills to their fullest potential. In the end, Tony was mesmerized by Vincent's smooth talking and hypnotic language patterns. He found himself agreeing to Vincent's terms, even though they were not in his favor. Vincent walked away from the negotiation victorious, securing the speakeasy and cementing his reputation as the city's most skilled negotiator. As the story spread through the city, Vincent's reputation as the smooth talker grew, and he continued to dominate the mobster scene with his mastery of language patterns and techniques in hypnotic negotiation. He was respected and feared by his rivals, and spending time with him was always rewarding due to his magnetic personality and mesmerizing negotiation skills. In conclusion, Vincent's story exemplifies the power of language in negotiation, and how mastering different language patterns and techniques, such as presuppositions, embedded commands, analogical language, reframing, and pacing and leading, can influence human behavior and decision-making. Vincent's hypnotic negotiation skills made him a formidable force in the 1920s mobster world, and his ability to use language to achieve his objectives was unparalleled. Exploring embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns. Exploring embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns. Language is a powerful tool that can be used to influence human behavior and shape decision-making. In the context of negotiation, mastering different language patterns and techniques can be a key advantage in achieving desired outcomes. Some of these key language patterns include embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and reframing. Embedded commands are a form of suggestion that is subtly hidden within a sentence, often using specific tone, emphasis, or pacing. The command is embedded within the sentence structure, making it less noticeable, but still capable of triggering a response in the listener's subconscious mind. For example, you can choose to accept. This offer contains the embedded command accept, which may influence the listener's decision-making. Metaphors are powerful language patterns that use indirect language to communicate a message. They involve comparing one thing to another to create a vivid mental image and evoke emotions in the listener. Metaphors can be used to influence perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors. For example, our partnership is like a ship sailing through stormy seas. Navigating challenges together creates a metaphorical image of teamwork and resilience. Pacing and leading is a technique that involves mirroring the language, tonality, and body language of the other party to build rapport and establish influence. By pacing the other person's communication style and then subtly leading them towards a desired outcome, the negotiator can create a sense of connection and trust. For example, if the other person speaks slowly and uses formal language, the negotiator can pace by also speaking slowly and using formal language. and then gradually lead the conversation towards the desired direction. Reframing is a language pattern that involves changing the context or perspective of a situation to alter perceptions and meanings. It can be used to shift the focus from a negative aspect to a positive one, or to offer a different interpretation of a situation. Reframing can help in overcoming objections, resolving conflicts, and finding common ground. For example, instead of viewing this as a challenge, let's see it as an opportunity for growth and innovation. These are just a few examples of the many language patterns and techniques used in negotiation. Mastering these language patterns can enhance a negotiator's ability to influence and persuade others, and ultimately impact the negotiation outcomes. It is important to use these language patterns ethically and responsibly, with a clear understanding of the other party's needs and motivations, and in alignment with the principles of fairness and mutual benefit. In conclusion, exploring and mastering embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, reframing, and other key language patterns can be a valuable skill set in negotiation. These language patterns can be used strategically to influence human behavior and decision-making, build rapport, establish trust, and achieve desired outcomes. However, it is important to use them with mindfulness and awareness of their impact, and always strive for win-win solutions in negotiations. Title: The Art of Influence in the Underworld. It was the roaring 1920s, and the city was a battleground for rival mobsters vying for control of the lucrative bootlegging trade during the Prohibition era. Among the top players in the underground world was Jimmy the Fox Malone, known for his cunning and persuasive negotiation skills that made him a force to be reckoned with. Jimmy was a master of embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns that he used to his advantage in his negotiations. He had a sharp mind and a silver tongue that could charm even the toughest opponents. One day, Jimmy received a proposition from a rival mobster, Johnny the Snake O'Sullivan, who wanted to take over a speakeasy that Jimmy had under his control. Jimmy knew that he needed to use his language skills to outwit Johnny and protect his territory. As Jimmy sat down with Johnny in a dimly lit back room of a speakeasy, he started pacing and leading the conversation. He mirrored Johnny's body language and tone, establishing rapport and gaining his trust. He used metaphors to paint vivid pictures in Johnny's mind, describing how their partnership could be like a well-oiled machine, working together smoothly to maximize profits. Jimmy also used embedded commands subtly, dropping suggestions into his sentences with a confident tone. He would say things like, "You can see how this could benefit both of us," or "Imagine the possibilities if we join forces." He used reframing to shift the focus from the competition to the potential for collaboration, presenting a win-win scenario. Despite Johnny's initial resistance, Jimmy's language patterns slowly began to influence Johnny's decision-making. He found himself drawn to Jimmy's persuasive words and captivated by his charisma. Spending time with Jimmy was always rewarding, as he made Johnny feel important and valued, using his language skills to create a sense of connection and trust. In the end, Johnny couldn't resist Jimmy's skillful negotiation tactics. He agreed to a partnership, and they joined forces to expand their bootlegging operations, leaving their differences aside. With his mastery of embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns, Jimmy successfully protected his territory and secured a powerful ally in the underworld. His reputation as a skilled negotiator spread far and wide, making him a formidable force in the mobster world. As the years passed, Jimmy continued to use his language skills to build alliances, outmaneuver rivals, and rise to the top of the criminal empire. His ability to influence and persuade others with his words became legendary, earning him the title of the negotiator in the underworld. In conclusion, Jimmy's story illustrates the power of exploring and mastering language patterns in negotiation, even in the gritty world of 1920s mobsters. His strategic use of embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and other key language patterns allowed him to sway opinions, build rapport, and achieve his desired outcomes. It showcases the importance of understanding and utilizing the art of influence through language in negotiation, regardless of the context or setting. Providing examples and case studies to illustrate the use of language patterns in negotiation contexts. Language patterns play a crucial role in negotiation contexts, as they can significantly impact the outcome of a negotiation. Here are some examples and case studies that illustrate the effective use of language patterns in negotiations. 1. Embedded commands. Embedded commands are subtle suggestions embedded within sentences that can influence someone's behavior without them realizing it. For example, in a negotiation scenario, a skilled negotiator might say, "You may want to consider the advantages of working together." The embedded command "consider" subtly suggests the desired behavior without directly imposing it, allowing the negotiator to guide the other party's decision-making process. Case study: In a business negotiation, a salesperson uses embedded commands to influence a potential client to make a purchase. They might say, "You might find that our product meets your needs perfectly." By embedding the command "meets your needs perfectly," the salesperson subtly suggests that the product is a perfect fit for the client, influencing their decision-making process. 2. Metaphors. Metaphors are powerful language patterns that can be used to create vivid imagery and convey complex concepts in a relatable way. In a negotiation, metaphors can help bridge communication gaps and facilitate understanding between parties with different perspectives. Case study: in a labor negotiation, a union representative uses a metaphor to convey the plight of the workers. They might say, "The workers are the gears that keep the company running smoothly. If the gears are not well maintained, the whole machine will grind to a halt." The metaphor of workers as gears creates a visual image of the importance of the workers' role, emphasizing their value and influence in the negotiation process. 3. Pacing and leading. Pacing and leading is a technique where the negotiator mirrors the other party's language and behavior initially to establish rapport and then leads the conversation towards the desired outcome. Case study: in a real estate negotiation, a buyer's agent uses pacing and leading to build rapport with the seller. The buyer's agent might say, "I understand that you've put a lot of time and effort into your home, and you want to get the best price for it. Now, let's talk about how we can work together to arrive at a win-win agreement." By pacing the seller's concern for getting the best price and then leading towards a win-win agreement, the buyer's agent establishes rapport and guides the negotiation towards a mutually beneficial outcome. 4. Framing. Framing is the way a negotiator presents information or sets the context to influence the perception and interpretation of that information. Case study: in a salary negotiation, an employee uses framing to justify their request for a raise. They might say, "Considering my years of experience, exceptional performance reviews, and the increased responsibilities I've taken on, I believe that my request for a raise is reasonable and in line with industry standards." By framing their request in the context of their experience, performance, and industry standards, the employee presents a compelling argument to support their negotiation position. In conclusion, these examples and case studies highlight how language patterns, such as embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and framing, can be effectively used in negotiation contexts to influence human behavior, build rapport, and shape outcomes. Mastering these language patterns can be a powerful tool in a negotiator's arsenal, enabling them to navigate complex negotiations and achieve their desired goals. It was a dark, smoky night in the bustling city of New York in the 1920s, during the era of Prohibition. The streets were lined with speakeasies, and the mobsters ruled the underworld with their illicit activities. Two rival mob bosses, Salvatore Sal Falcone and Vincent Vinnie Rosso, were locked in a fierce negotiation to divide their territories. Sal was known for his smooth-talking skills and mastery of language patterns. He was a charismatic and persuasive negotiator who knew how to use language to his advantage. On the other hand, Vinnie was notorious for his ruthless nature and aggressive tactics. He was determined to expand his territory and eliminate his rivals by any means necessary. In their latest negotiation, Sal and Vinnie sat across from each other in a dimly lit room, surrounded by their loyal henchmen. Sal began the negotiation by using embedded commands to subtly influence Vinnie's decision-making. He said, "Vinnie, you may want to consider the benefits of a peaceful resolution. We can find a win-win solution that benefits both our operations." Sal's words were carefully crafted to plant the suggestion of a peaceful resolution in Vinnie's mind without sounding forceful. Vinnie, however, was not easily swayed. He responded with a metaphor: "Sal, this city is like a jungle, and I'm the king of the jungle. I'm not here to make friends or share my kingdom. I want it all." Vinnie's metaphor created a visual image of his dominance and determination to take control of the city, framing himself as the powerful king of the jungle. Sal, undeterred, used pacing and leading to build rapport with Vinnie. He mirrored Vinnie's tone and body language and then led the conversation towards a potential compromise. He said, "I understand your ambition, Vinnie. We both want what's best for our operations. Now, let's talk about how we can work together to find a solution that satisfies both of our interests." Sal's pacing and leading technique helped to establish rapport with Vinnie and create a cooperative tone in the negotiation. Vinnie, however, remained resistant and countered with aggressive demands. He used framing to justify his actions, saying, "I've worked hard for what I have, and I won't settle for anything less. I won't stop until I've taken over your entire territory." Vinnie's framing positioned himself as the determined and unwavering antagonist, unyielding in his pursuit of power and control. Despite Vinnie's tough stance, Sal remained composed and continued to use language patterns to sway the negotiation in his favor. He provided case studies and examples of how other mob bosses had benefited from peaceful resolutions and cooperation, showcasing the positive outcomes of using language patterns in negotiation contexts. As the negotiation progressed, Sal's strategic use of language patterns, such as embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and framing, began to wear down Vinny's resistance. Vinny found himself drawn to Sal's charismatic presence, and spending time with Sal was always rewarding as he was impressed by Sal's persuasive skills. In the end, Sal's masterful use of language patterns paid off. Vinny reluctantly agreed to a compromise, and the two mob bosses reached a mutually beneficial agreement, dividing the city into their respective territories without any bloodshed. Sal's language patterns had helped him achieve his goal of a peaceful resolution and maintain his influence in the city. In conclusion, the story of Sal and Vinny exemplifies the effective use of language patterns in negotiation contexts. Sal's mastery of embedded commands, metaphors, pacing and leading, and framing enabled him to build rapport, influence behavior, and ultimately achieve a successful negotiation outcome. Chapter 3, Direct and Indirect Suggestions. Negotiation is an art that requires not only strategic planning and effective communication skills but also the ability to influence and persuade others. In the realm of negotiation, language patterns play a crucial role in shaping the outcome of a negotiation. One of the key aspects of language patterns is the use of direct and indirect suggestions. Direct suggestions are explicit and straightforward statements that convey a specific message or request, while indirect suggestions are more subtle and implicit, often requiring interpretation and inference by the recipient. Both direct and indirect suggestions can be powerful tools in negotiation, depending on the context and the dynamics between the parties involved. In this chapter, we will delve into the intricacies of direct and indirect suggestions in negotiation. We will explore how direct suggestions can be used to assertively convey a message, make requests, and influence behavior, as well as the potential pitfalls and ethical considerations associated with their use. We will also examine the nuances of indirect suggestions, including the use of language patterns such as presuppositions, implication, and ambiguity to subtly influence the negotiation process and achieve desired outcomes. Through real-life examples, case studies, and practical tips, this chapter will provide insights into the effective use of direct and indirect suggestions in negotiation contexts. Whether you are a seasoned negotiator looking to enhance your communication skills or a novice seeking to understand the power of language in negotiation, this chapter will equip you with valuable tools and techniques to navigate the complexities of direct and indirect suggestions in negotiation and achieve favorable outcomes. So, let's delve into the world of direct and indirect suggestions and unlock their potential in the art of negotiation. Diving into the different types of suggestions used in hypnotic negotiation. Language is a powerful tool in negotiation, and the use of suggestions can be particularly influential in shaping the outcomes of a negotiation. In the context of hypnotic negotiation, suggestions play a crucial role in guiding and influencing the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of the parties involved. Understanding the different types of suggestions used in hypnotic negotiation is essential for mastering the art of persuasive communication and achieving optimal results. 1. Direct suggestions. Direct suggestions are explicit and straightforward statements that convey a specific message or request. They are used to assertively convey a point, make a request, or influence behavior. For example, you should consider this offer seriously or you will agree to our terms. Direct suggestions are clear and leave little room for interpretation, making them effective in situations where a negotiator wants to convey a specific message or request with authority. 2. Indirect suggestions. Indirect suggestions are more subtle and implicit, often requiring interpretation and inference by the recipient. They are designed to influence the subconscious mind and guide the individual towards a desired outcome without explicitly stating it. Indirect suggestions can be achieved through various language patterns, such as presuppositions, implication, and ambiguity. For example, it's interesting how we can find common ground in our negotiations, or you may notice how this proposal aligns with your long-term goals. Indirect suggestions are powerful in bypassing resistance and influencing the subconscious mind of the parties involved. 3. Embedded commands. Embedded commands are a specific type of direct suggestion that involves embedding a command within a sentence or statement. The command is often disguised and camouflaged within the sentence structure, tone, or emphasis, making it less noticeable to the conscious mind but more influential to the subconscious mind. For example, as you consider our proposal, you can easily see the benefits or take your time to review our offer and make a wise decision. Embedded commands are effective in guiding the recipient towards a specific action or behavior without explicitly commanding them. 4. Metaphors. Metaphors are powerful tools used in hypnotic negotiation to convey messages indirectly through storytelling. Metaphors allow the negotiator to create vivid and relatable imagery that can be easily understood and internalized by the recipient. Metaphors can be used to illustrate complex concepts, evoke emotions, and influence decision-making. For example, imagine you are sailing in a stormy sea, and our proposal is the sturdy ship that can safely take you to your destination, or our offer is like a bridge that connects our interests and creates a win-win situation for both parties. Metaphors can be a compelling way to communicate ideas and influence the perception of the negotiation process. 5. Pacing and leading. Pacing and leading is a technique used in hypnotic negotiation to establish rapport and influence the behavior of the parties involved. Pacing involves mirroring or aligning with the recipient's current state or behavior, while leading involves subtly guiding the recipient towards a desired state or behavior. For example, if a negotiator notices that the other party is hesitant, they can pace by acknowledging and empathizing with their concerns. For example, I understand that you have reservations about our proposal. Then, they can lead by gradually shifting the conversation towards the desired outcome. For example, let's explore some potential solutions that address your concerns while meeting our goals. Pacing and leading are effective in building rapport, gaining trust, and influencing the negotiation process. Understanding the different types of suggestions used in hypnotic negotiation allows a negotiator to effectively utilize language patterns to influence the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of the parties involved. By mastering the art of direct and indirect suggestions, embedded commands, metaphors, and pacing and leading. Title: The Negotiator's Gambit. It was the roaring 1920s, and the city was bustling with the illicit activities of mobsters and their nefarious dealings. Among them was Tony the Negotiator Santara, a smooth-talking and cunning negotiator who had a reputation for getting what he wanted through his mastery of hypnotic negotiation. Tony was known for his keen understanding of the different types of suggestions used in negotiation, and he used them to his advantage in every deal he made. He was currently embroiled in a high-stakes negotiation with his arch-rival, Vito the Viper Rossi, who ran a rival mob organization. The two were sitting in a dimly lit speakeasy, their eyes locked in a battle of wits. Tony was a master of direct suggestions. His confident and assertive tone left little room for interpretation as he made his demands to Vito. "You will agree to hand over the territory without any resistance," Tony said, his voice laced with authority. He repeated his demands with unwavering conviction, embedding the commands in his sentences. "As you consider the consequences, you'll realize it's in your best interest to comply." Vito, known for his hot temper, tried to resist Tony's direct suggestions, but he found himself swayed by the hypnotic power of Tony's words. Tony then seamlessly shifted to using indirect suggestions, using presuppositions and implications to plant seeds in Vito's mind. "It's interesting how we can find a solution that benefits both our organizations," Tony said, subtly implying that Vito's cooperation would be mutually advantageous. As the negotiation progressed, Tony also used metaphors to paint vivid imagery in Vito's mind. He described their negotiation as a high-stakes poker game, with the territory as the ultimate prize. "Vito, this is a gamble. We can either go all in and share the pot or risk losing it all," Tony said, using the metaphor of gambling to evoke emotions and influence Vito's decision-making. Tony also skillfully employed pacing and leading techniques. He mirrored Vito's concerns and hesitations, acknowledging and empathizing with them. "I understand that you want to protect your turf, Vito. But imagine the possibilities of a truce between our organizations," Tony said, pacing Vito's resistance. Then, he gradually led the conversation towards the desired outcome. "Let's explore ways to collaborate and create a win-win situation for both our organizations." As the negotiation went on, Vito found himself captivated by Tony's persuasive language patterns. Spending time with Tony was always rewarding, as he was a master of influencing thoughts and behaviors through his hypnotic negotiation techniques. In the end, Tony's mastery of direct and indirect suggestions, embedded commands, metaphors, and pacing and leading paid off. Vito succumbed to Tony's persuasive powers and agreed to hand over the territory without a fight. Tony emerged victorious, solidifying his reputation as the negotiator in the underworld.